Hey, what is up YouTube? Kolst here. So the mini set for Fractured and Alterac Valley has been announced. It's called Onyxia's Lair. It'll be launching, I believe, on Tuesday, February 15th. So very soon from now. And I want to explain really quickly because I know we have a lot of new players, just what that means exactly. It's the addition of 35 new cards. You can buy it for either money or gold, $15 or 2,000 gold. Generally, in my opinion at least, you want to this is about as good of a deal as you're ever going to get on cards, and otherwise you can open them in packs, but also the fact that you can open them in packs is a reason not to. So you want to get them now, otherwise you'll just be getting duplicates once you eventually do buy it. So buy it as soon as possible if you can. And you can even buy it golden if you want to for $70 if you know. But of course, as normal, you don't need to buy them to play with them in Arena, which is what we're going to be talking about now. And so as of making this video, they've announced the first wave. 7 cards have been announced, and I'm going to be reviewing these cards for Arena. Will they be good? Things you want to draft, not draft. One thing which will be important to mention for that is that there is going to be an Arena rotation, which means that the card pool is going to be completely changing. I believe Fractured and Alterac Valley is the only set that's remaining, I believe. And there are a whole bunch. This will be a very interesting rotation because it is entirely wild sets, and for the first time since it left, Descent of Dragons is coming out. I'm going to be making at least, probably, maybe multiple, at least one video about this rotation, so I'm going to leave that topic for now and just talk about the new cards. So the first one they announced here is Spawn of Deathwing. This is a 5-mana 6/6 dragon in the Warlock class, which is also a common with Battle Cry. Destroy a random enemy minion, discard a random card. So, I mean, besides the fact that this is a 5-mana 6/6 with basically upside, which is already insane. I mean, this reminds me a lot of like Rift Cleaver, which is a card that is in, which you'll be rotating out. This is a 6-mana 7/5 with Battlecry, destroy a minion. You get to target it, but instead of discarding a card, you take damage equal to its health. Which could be better, could be worse, depends on the situation, right? If you're just trying not to stay alive, this is going to be significantly better, but then it might, the fact that it's random might hurt you. But I mean, generally speaking, I mean, this is an absolutely insane card. If your opponent just has one big minion, you have this, you're getting an absolutely unbelievable swing. And one thing that's going to be important as well is that since some of the sets that are coming back are going to include dragons, and some dragons have a text which is like, if you have a dragon in your hand, then do something positive. Just any dragon is going to gain benefit, and it's going to be higher value just because it's a dragon. Because you will get value even if you don't play them. So, I mean, this card is just absolutely insane 5 out of 5 arena card, going to be extremely oppressive, going to be extremely common. Because it's a common, you're going to be thinking about this card a lot. It's worth noting as well, they mentioned that this is part of a theme of cards. There will be 4 of them total. I assume these are going to be Spawn of Dragons, like the dragon aspects, so I guess we don't know exactly which ones, but we might see like something like Spawn of Ysera, adds a dream card to your hand. Maybe Alexstrasza. It depends on which ones they choose to add, but there are going to be more cards like this as well. With that, we'll move on to the next card, which is Deep Breath. This is a 5-mana mage spell, which is rare. Deal 1 damage to a minion and its neighbors, improved by the number of other spells in your hand. So I believe that means, if you have just one other spell in your hand, it deals 2 damage, and it just increases from there. And this will be a card that you're going to want to think about, because sometimes you'll be able to play around that cone, put your stealth in the middle, that kind of thing. But generally speaking, it's going to be, you won't know exactly how much damage it's going to deal most of the time if your opponent happens to have it. But it's one of those things where this probably won't be super good all the time in Arena, because you probably want to have at least 2 other spells in your hand to make this deal 3 damage. That's probably around the point where it becomes like pretty good, and ideally you'd obviously rather do more. If you can get more than that, this thing quickly becomes like a better flame strike most of the time. So it does have a lot of potential. It's going to be one of those things where, if a mage starts discovering a lot of spells, they'll find one of these and then they'll swing back the board, and it's going to create a lot of very swingy games if you let the mage have too much time, basically. So overall, this will be one of those cards where I think it'll be pretty pickable, but this won't be like an automatic pick card. Obviously, if you're 26 picks in and you only have 2 other spells in your deck, this probably isn't going to be very good. But there's going to be a lot of cases where if you discover this, you're going to be really happy to see it. But overall, one of those cards, it's going to be a little conditional in the draft. You're not always going to want to take, but sometimes you will. Moving on to the next card, we have a Priest Dragon. This one is called Lightmaw Netherdrake. This is a 4-mana 4/4 battle cry. If you're holding a Holy and Shadow spell, deal 3 damage to all other minions. This is extremely similar to a past dragon in Priest, which was Duskbreaker, a 4-mana 3/3. If you're holding a dragon, deal 3 damage to all other minions. Probably, generally speaking, I think this is probably true in Arena too. Just holding a dragon is easier to trigger than having a Holy and a Shadow spell. You know, in Arena, you don't always have that many spells, period, and a lot of times you don't really have that much variety between like Holy and Shadow. So this is going to be a very difficult condition to actually trigger. But of course, for that, you get, compared to the Duskbreaker, you get better stats, a 4/4 instead of a 3/3. So overall, this card, again, isn't going to be one of those cards you're going to like automatically pick, because you're really not going to expect to trigger this all that often. If you do trigger it, it might be amazing if you need that trigger. But one thing that's worth noting, as I mentioned on the first card again, is that just the fact that this is a dragon is going to provide value. So you might be picking it partially just for that reason. Because just for example, one card that is rotating back in is Draconid Operative. If you're holding a dragon, discover a copy card in your opponent's deck. And discovering from your opponent's deck can be very, very powerful. So, you know, these are the kinds of effects that particularly in Priest is going to be valuable. So you may pick this, especially because there are a lot of weaker sets rotating. And a lot of times a 4-mana 4/4 dragon is just going to be the best card. So you're going to pick this probably more often than you think, even if you don't think the effect is going to trigger that much. But of course, you're probably not going to want to take it over, you know, some other super powerful card. Moving on to another 4-mana dragon, this time in Warrior, and this time it is a common. This is Onyxian Drake. This is a 4-mana 4/5 with Taunt, which is, you know, pretty good already, right, as far as Arena is concerned. It's also a common. But with Battlecry, deal damage equal to your armor to an enemy minion. A lot of the time, this is just going to be mostly a 4-mana 4/5. You usually don't want to be hero powering in Arena. If you do hero power on 2, your opponent doesn't punish you, and then you get, you know, deal 2 damage. That'd be great, but you're usually not going to be getting more than that on curve. Where this gets extremely, extremely powerful is if you're already winning, for example. Usually if you have armor in Arena, it's because you're winning by a bunch, and then you're in like a really long drawn out game. And that's really the only way you can accrue a bunch of armor. And then in that case, this thing becomes probably a 4-mana 4/5. Sometimes it would be like an Assassinate, right? Just kill anything basically. So it has very strong potential in the late game, but usually not going to be super oppressive on curve. So overall, definitely a good card. Not one you're going to always take over something super busted, but definitely, you know, a good tool, and you always want taunt in slow decks anyway, so if you're drafting a control style, you're going to be very happy to see this card. So I'd say like this is like a 4, maybe even 4.5 star card. It's going to be a card you're going to be picking a lot. You're going to be seeing a lot if you're seeing a lot of Warriors, because it's a common, so it's going to be all over the place. And frankly, it's going to be yet another reason why you're actually going to want to go face more against Warrior to try to, you know, prevent getting punished by this card. And the next card they have here is another dragon, another common, this time a neutral, which is Onyxian Warder. 5-mana 3/6 Battlecry. If you're holding a dragon, summon 2 2/1 whelps with Rush. So a 5-mana 3/6, not super good, doesn't even have taunt, not even a Fen Creeper. But if you have a dragon, another one of these, if you have a dragon effects, summon 2 2/1s with Rush. Summoning 2 2/1's not always going to do that much, but the fact that they have Rush means basically this is like Battlecry, deal 4 damage, but they can't go face, but it's better than 4 damage because it's split damage. So overall, I mean, it's one of those things. If you have dragons, this is an incredibly, incredibly strong card. Not like the most busted thing ever, but very strong, especially for a neutral, right? But if you don't have dragons, you're obviously not going to want it. So, you know, draft accordingly. Alright, so for the 6th card they've announced, we have a little bit of a fun and flavorful one here. I believe this is the only epic, actually, of the entire mini-set. This is called Whelp Bonker. It is a 3-mana 1/5 with Frenzy and Honorable Kill, draw a card. Is this actually, I'm forgetting now. I don't think we've had Frenzy for a while, so that's interesting to see Frenzy come back. This is a one-time effect after it survives damage. So, you know, 3-mana 1/5, which can potentially draw, well, theoretically off Honorable Kill, you could draw Infinite, but, you know, a lot of the time, if you play this in Arena, you're probably going to get, like, 1 card off of it. So we're comparing this thing to, you know, something like you would expect it to be like, on curve at least, a 3-mana 1/5 draw card. That would be pretty good. In the later game, it might not work though, because it might just get one shot and not do anything. It doesn't have a rush or anything to guarantee the frenzy, so if you really wanted to guarantee it, you would have to trigger it yourself. In which case, it's just a little expensive if you're getting like a 3-mana 1/4 with having to use a ping activator on it, right? It's not going to be worth it. So overall, I don't think this is going to be a card you're going to be super looking forward to draft, but you know, sometimes if it's up against 2 other bad cards, you will take it, so it's definitely not unpickable either. I will say I'm looking forward to the golden animation for it as well, even though I will not buy it because it's an epic and that is too expensive for that meme. So the last card that they've announced here is a rare shaman spell called Don't Stand in the Fire. This is a 5 mana, deal 10 damage, randomly split among all enemy minions, overload just 1. So I mean, this is literally the battle cry of Reno the Relicologist, which was, I mean, maybe it still is one of the best cards ever in Arena, but if you could actually trigger it, but you obviously don't get the 4/6 body, you know, you're basically paying 6 mana. But I mean, this is an incredibly powerful effect. Pretty much allows you to not really do much of anything, and then on turn 5, just basically clear any board your opponent could possibly make, which is, you know, kind of insane. So it's kind of like, again, this is another card which is going to be rotating in at the same time Volcano, which was 15 damage, but it was 2-sided. Again, this is only 1-sided. It only hits enemies, so you can also use it while it's winning. It's just while you're winning. It's just an insanely powerful effect. And since it's only overload 1, it's not like it's going to screw over your next turn either. It's just, this is going to be extremely strong. And the fact that these 2 cards are going to be in together, like Shaman is just going to, I haven't looked at all the other sets, but just these 2 cards already, Shaman's going to be able to have some pretty crazy control strategies in Arena, just judging off of these. And so if I didn't say already, like, this is going to be a very strong card, especially in control strategies, but you know, even in aggro, you can basically play this as like, you know, a double assassinate sometimes, just to slow your opponent down from being able to develop a board to contest yours. So it's just overall a very strong card. And alright, that's it for the cards that have been announced so far. They did say they're going to be announcing more cards in the next couple of days, so I'm going to be periodically uploading some of these videos to talk about the new cards, and make sure if you let me know like what kind of other content you'd want to see when talking about like the cards rotating in, or just whatever you want really. I'm open to suggestions and it may impact the videos I make. So if you like the video, like; if you dislike it, subscribe and comment for the algorithm and to see more of these videos. But yeah, thanks a lot again. We will see you guys in the next one.